Welcome, ladies and gents, and our friends beyond the binary. We're the first ever globe-trotting, visually stimulating podcast on the airwaves. Hello, loves. It's Soraya Vivian. I'm your official tour guide for our new show, Pride This Way, produced by Pillars of Change Media. For years, I've had the best seat in the house for Pride festivals around the world, from Manchester to Maspalomas and everywhere in between, and amplify the real stories that breathe life into Pride. Every stream, every subscriber directly funds our community around the globe. We're not just covering the party, loves, we're paying it forward. There's only one way to see the world. Pride This Way.
Is this thing on? Are we live yet?
This is Deep Cuts, Pride and Policy. While we celebrate visibility and serving joy in every time zone, the truth is policy still decides how we live.
Iowa lawmakers approved restrictions in schools on LGBTQ topics and certain books.
Last year, 1,700 books were removed from public schools across Texas.
You're saying to not just trans kids, but any kid that might need a puberty blocker at some point in their life that, hey, that's not okay.
Imagine being 13 years old and the word that describes you has been banned from your classroom. Imagine a teacher who cares about you being told they cannot say your name or acknowledge your family exists. There is not a single book on the shelf that tells you you belong here. Now stop imagining, because that is the reality for millions of LGBTQ plus kids across this country today.
In 2024, we saw a record number of anti-trans bills that were proposed across the country.
Hi guys, Jason S. here, coming to you from New York City for this episode of Pride This Way. Today we have the organizer of TQVoices, Jade, here with us as well. Jade, welcome to Pride This Way. I look forward to hearing all about TQVoices from you, because I happen to know that was found on a very deceptively simple thought process of people with trans friends are more than likely to support an organization because they have trans friends. When TQVoices, it exists to amplify trans and queer stories, when did you realize those voices weren't being heard and that you needed to remedy that?
The whole reason TQVoices got started, I started it on my own with my ex-girlfriend, who's one of my best friends right now, okay. Queer culture. It was that first round of just hundreds of anti-trans bills and laws getting passed all over the country all at once. It was about 4 years ago. And I remember thinking, like, oh my God, this is just an onslaught against my community. Like, what do? I have to do something. I can't sit here and do nothing, because it was making me so angry and so upset. I just couldn't sleep, and I couldn't rest, and I couldn't feel okay with myself unless I was doing something about it. So I knew I needed to do something. And I actually thought back to this lovely couple that I met during Trump's first presidency during the Muslim ban. I had coworkers at the time who were Muslim while that was going on, and I was hearing a little bit about how that was affecting them, and they couldn't see their families and things like that. And it was making me, as an empathetic person, really upset. And I wanted to do something, but this was a community that I didn't know a whole lot about. And so I went online, I was trying to research it, I was trying to figure out what I could learn about this community so that I could be a better ally and advocate for them. And I met this couple who were running a program that was literally Ask a Muslim. And I was like, well, that's a good way to get to know what this community is about. So I went and I met up with them, and I learned more about this community of people in that 1 hour conversation than I could have possibly learned doing a deep dive online, trying to learn these things on my own. So when it was the trans community under attack, I thought back to that couple and that conversation I had that made me a better ally for a community that I didn't know much about, and thought, I can do that for trans people.
Of course.
I'm a trans person. Right. I can help people understand the trans community. So I did. I took a pizza box, I wrote meet a trans person, ask me anything, and I told my ex-girlfriend, hey, I'm gonna go do this thing, it's a little crazy, come with me, make sure I don't die. Also, here's my phone, get some video, let's put it online. And it went a little viral. And because of that, a whole bunch of other trans people in New York City started reaching out to me saying, like, are you insane? Why are you doing this alone? Are you alone? Can I help you? You don't have to do this alone. Can I help you? And then we ended up like growing an organization, which then became TQVoices. A year later, we officially launched as an organization, and we still do this regularly in Times Square with a sign that says, "Meet trans people, ask us anything."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we also, in addition to that, host community building events in New York City for trans people to meet other trans people. Particularly now as more and more trans and genderqueer people are moving to New York City from less friendly states, we offer a place where they can come make trans friends as soon as they arrive.
This morning I signed a declaration. Sex-rejecting procedures are neither safe nor effective treatment for children with gender dysphoria.
It was a directive from United States Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., that created an immediate chilling effect on providing gender-affirming care to children. Threatened with the loss of Medicare and Medicaid funding, dozens of facilities pulled gender-affirming care, but 21 states fought back, suing the administration for overstepping its bounds. And a federal judge agreed. The so-called Kennedy Declaration was overturned. The biggest impact to date, though, has been the U.S. Supreme Court ruling in United States versus Scrametti, which allowed state bans on gender-affirming care of minors to stand. Our Pride This Way host, Desi Love Blake, had the opportunity to interview Senator Roem about the attacks on healthcare.
For the queer and trans people in your state, what do you feel like is the most urgent attack or the most urgent need right now?
When people try to take your health care away from you, when it's your medically necessary care, and in Virginia, that is defined in the code of Virginia as medically necessary. I know because I wrote it, and it's upheld every challenge, that other legislators have tried to throw at it over the last 6 years. That's not something where it's just, oh, okay, I can live with it or without it, whatever. This is your health care. And it never ceases to amaze me how the same people who espouse small government, personal freedom, liberty, are the first people in line to use the government to restrict your freedom and your liberty to live as yourself and to get the health care that your doctor has prescribed to you. Coming for someone's health care is telling that person, I don't care if you live or die. And that is a horrible, horrible thing to do.
After a legal fight, a law passed in 2023 banning certain types of drag performances in front of children is about to go into effect, leaving some performers concerned about how it could impact their businesses.
Showcased and celebrated at Pride, drag is glitter, comedy, and pure queer joy. It's camp, it's art, it's how our community tells the truth in 6-inch heels. But while queens and kings are busy making us laugh, lawmakers have put drag on the front lines, pushing bills in more than a dozen states to restrict or erase it from public life. And in Texas, after years of court fights, the so-called drag ban went into effect, targeting sexually oriented performances in front of children and chilling drag far beyond the clubs.
Can you share your thoughts on the Texas Senate Bill 12 or SB 12, the drag ban, how you feel about that?
The first time I heard that they were going to ban drag, I laughed. I thought it was stupid. A bunch of grown men, primarily, spending all of their time talking about the dangers of supposed dangers of drag.
You felt threatened.
Yeah, no, this is crazy. I mean, what a waste of our tax dollars. They're up there supposed to be, dealing with major issues in the state of Texas, all the issues that we have across the state, and that's the number one issue. But I recently read that it's actually created a backlash, and while I can't, I have to be careful about taking someone who is underage or one of my grandkids to a particular drag show. On the other hand, apparently it has sparked a renaissance in certain communities and a much greater awareness of drag and drag culture, and a lot more blossoming of family-friendly drag. I mean, a lot of people think that so much of drag is a risque or sexual performance, and it's not. And it can be beautiful, it can be funny, it can be fun, and it's frustrating that this has happened, but it has in no way limited the appearance or the growth of drag across the state, which it speaks to that resilience in our community, and we'll figure out a way to be who we want to be, who we must be, and they're going to be fabulous while we do it.
Today marks 10 years since the deadliest attack on the LGBTQ plus community in U.S. history. On June 12, 2016, a gunman opened fire inside Pulse nightclub in Orlando, killing 49 people and injuring dozens more.
I know that Gays Against Guns was born from the unfortunate shock of the Pulse nightclub shooting. What was your turning point or your personal realization for you to start Gays Against Guns?
Well, I didn't start it.
Okay.
But certainly the community started it, and it was the massacre at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida. I'm a late blooming lesbian, and I was actually at my first big women's party at Fire Island and heading home early that morning and found out what had happened, and it was very shocking. Came back to the city, and everybody, as usual, goes to Stonewall when there's something happens. And so everybody was at Stonewall. Kevin, our founder, and a few others said we need to have a meeting. And we had a meeting a few days later. Over 300 people showed up. One of the people who showed up was Tigger Ferguson, talking about what we could do. Tigger's a burlesque artist. And he suggested that we march in the Pride March, which was going to be happening 2 weeks from then, and dress as the victims, the 49 who were murdered. It was the largest mass shooting in America at the time. And so that's how our human beings were born. And we presented ourselves at Pride that year with 49 human beings all dressed in white, carrying the placards with the images of the people who lost their lives that day.
I remember seeing that in the parade, and I remember personally my reaction to that was just of shock, because you guys were all in white, and I was like, what is going on there? At the time, I was a cheerleader for Cheer New York, and I was a little blown away by the originality of it, and also the sadness of it, and weirdly the joy that it brought as well, that someone is actually taking a stand and doing something.
Yeah.
That made me feel really, really nice that was going on.
And one of the points, just to say, one of the points about the human beings is that they stand in silence and take up space. So when somebody approaches them, they're not spoken to, they don't respond, they just share a little story on their image, on the image of the person.
Yeah.
So it's very moving. So it's also very quiet and contemplative, and
Yeah.
for the people who are doing it as well as the people who are seeing it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember firsthand. And that's what's important about this next question. Your actions are intentionally nonviolent yet visually disruptive. What humanities or moral framework guides how GAG designs action that break the chain of death without replicating the violence you protest?
Well, first of all, we don't use gun imagery at all. We don't believe in normalizing the appearance of guns or guns being around. And we're also just kind of in your face. Every Valentine's Day, we go to Congress and we hand out bloody Valentines to people who take money from the gun lobby. So we call out people and name, blame, and shame them for supporting the industry, politicians who accept money from the industry, et cetera. So we just really try to embarrass people. We protest outside of FedEx and tell them stop giving gun owners discounts to ship their guns. We protested out of Hertz Rent-A-Car and told them stop giving discounts to NRA members. So that's what we do. We put people on the spot and make them very uncomfortable. Our human beings make them uncomfortable. We bring those places and get people very upset. I mean, just walking through the halls of Congress with a group of people dressed in white with veils and everybody, we've had legislators be like, who's that? Why are they here? Why are they here? And it unsettles them, and that's good. So we unsettle them without being violent.
Texas A&M University is asking professors to make changes to hundreds of courses or risk having them canceled.
It started with a single moment in children's literature class at Texas A&M that went viral, where political policy crashed into academic freedom. A student challenged their professor over gender identity content, and it was all caught on this hidden recording.
I just have a question because I'm not entirely sure this is legal to be teaching. Because according to our president, there's only 2 genders, and he said that he would be freezing agencies' funding programs that promote gender ideology.
This moment set off a chain reaction at Texas A&M that ended with the professor fired and the university president forced to resign.
Also new tonight, the Texas Tech University system is telling campus leaders to limit discussion in the classroom of transgender and non-binary identities.
Former Texas State Senator and now Texas Tech Chancellor Brandon Creighton tried to propose sweeping power to control curricula and punish universities, a plan lawmakers rejected. Now, from the chancellor's office, he is informally shaping what gets taught and whose voices are heard. To unpack what that means on the ground at Texas Tech, we're joined by Professor Andrew Martin, President AAUP, chapter at Texas Tech University.
It's become a battle now where we are fighting censorship every day.
Texas Tech, along with many of the state's public universities, is combing through hundreds of courses and zeroing in on anything that touches LGBTQ plus lives, race, or gender.
There is no law in Texas or in the United States that dictates that faculty teaching in their classrooms must teach that there are only 2 biological sexes. But one of the results of the now Chancellor Creighton coming to Tech seems to be that he would like to implement a version of the law that did not actually pass.
Academic freedom at Texas Tech has been murdered.
Some students and faculty at Texas Tech holding a funeral after they say academic freedom across the university system was killed.
Our provost office introduced a portal to which we were all, anybody who teaches a class or who is currently teaching a class this semester, we were all required to submit our classes. In our chapter of the AUP, we always emphasize that's students' rights to learn. So LGBTQ plus students will not be able to learn about part of their identity. I'm still not sure how on earth I would ever tell a student in one of my art classes that they can take the class, but that they can't make work about a particular aspect of their identity. I don't have a way of imagining saying that, and I hope I never have to. So the impact is drastic.
We need to tune in and defend our rights. So let's get started.
Among the setbacks, there were also flashes of resilience, steps forward along the Rainbow Road. According to the ACLU, 333 anti-LGBTQ bills across the U.S. were defeated by June 2026. Victories won bill by bill, hearing by hearing. And the Human Rights Campaign is now putting $15 million into key political races where red state seats are starting to look vulnerable.
We got Turning Point USA making a stop at Baylor on that conservative organization's college tour. At the same time, some students are organizing an event of their own.
It's always been an organization, at least to my knowledge, it's always been a more, conservative right organization that doesn't like terms like DEI. They don't like terms like diversity and inclusion. And that just goes to show because they're not welcoming to people that aren't like them or that don't agree with them.
Turning Point announced their tour and their Baylor stop around early March. JW, the former president of the College Dems, and I started talking about ways to organize an alternative event.
So the students received approval from Baylor to organize an alternative event called All Our Neighbors, with many speakers, including HRC's president, Kelly Robinson.
Your campus in your state is still one fighting
Baylor alumni who had gone here previously, right? Everyone was like, thank you so much for putting this together, because something like this was never even like imaginable back in my time. They couldn't have even imagined like having something that was so welcoming and all-inclusive. About an hour later, we heard from some people that there were some comments being made in the Turning Point event that were kind of hateful and, you know, not really Baylor oriented. And we were like, man, that's crazy, because our event was so loving, so welcoming. Like, one person had nothing to say. Like, no one had anything bad to say about our event.
We have PRISM here on campus, which is our pro LGBTQ, student organization, but there's so many restrictions that they have to follow. They're not allowed to advocate for anything that promotes sexuality against the Bible, which I think is a little silly, but that's something that, I hope to work on as, the president for the College Democrats, because we don't have that same restriction. So I think the starting point with the All Our Neighbors was a good, this community is really here at Baylor and it's not going to go away.
It will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
In this political climate, the backlash can feel relentless, like a wave of attacks crashing faster than we can catch our breath.
Attacks about your gender to you when you're trans, that's about someone else's perception of what they think masculinity and femininity are supposed to be in society, and whether you match that definition as far as they are concerned. Your hands are too big. Your voice is too deep. You're too tall. Your shoulders are this. You're blah, 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 blah. That's what you have to do. You got to brush that stuff off.
Supportive legislators are needed to win these battles. With more than 500 anti-LGBTQ+ bills introduced in a single legislative session, Don't Say Gay laws in America are spreading state to state like wildfire. Book bans pulling queer stories off shelves as if removing the words removes the children who need them. Trans youth blocked from healthcare. Drag performances criminalized. Educators silenced. Families threatened. It's dangerous, and it's not just a queer issue, it's an American issue.
Right now in our communities, we're really under existential threat. If you are any of those LGBs who want to pretend that there's a difference between the LGBs and the Qs and the Ts, you need to get over that mess, because when they're done with the Qs and the Ts and the NBs, they're going to be coming for you Gs, you Ls, and you Bs. These are the canaries in the coal mine. These are the low-hanging fruit. These are the ones that they think more people are going to feel comfortable diminishing and demonizing and ostracizing. But that's how they start building. And very soon after that, they're going to be coming for everybody who is not a straight, white, cisgender, Christian, Judeo-Christian, white person. And if you don't fall under any of that, then you're gonna be in the camps along with the rest of us. So, watch out.
Next episode, Provincetown Pride is coming, and this year the stage belongs to the legends, where drag, politics, and pride collide on the same tiny strip of land inside some say is the gayest town on earth.
What's your name?
Dennis.
Handsome.
Join us bi-weekly for a new episode.
Pride this way, serving joy in every time zone.
Subscribe, download, pay it forward.
Bye.